He wasn't just a television star, he was a cultural moment. And now, James Van Der Beek is gone at 48. For an entire generation, his face wasn't just on a screen, it was part of growing up. Part of first crushes, first heartbreaks, first big dreams about who we might become. When Dawson's Creek premiered in 1998, something shifted. Teen drama slowed down. It became reflective, thoughtful, unapologetically emotional. And at the center of it all was Dawson Leery, wide-eyed, idealistic, intense, played with total sincerity by James Van Der Beek. He made vulnerability mainstream before that was fashionable. He made it okay for a teenage boy to talk about feelings, about art, about wanting life to mean something. And millions watched. For 6 seasons, alongside Katie Holmes, Joshua Jackson, and Michelle Williams, he anchored a show that defined late 90s and early 2000s youth culture. Dorm rooms, bedroom posters, magazine covers. It wasn't just a hit. It was a rite of passage. James was only 20 when it all began. Overnight, he became one of the most recognizable young actors in the world. That kind of fame can distort a life. He admitted later that he struggled with it. He loved observing people, blending into conversations. Suddenly, there was a spotlight between him and everyone else. He talked about the strange distance celebrity creates, how random human connection becomes complicated, how being recognized changes even the simplest interactions. But he never turned his back on Dawson. He understood what that character meant. He understood the comfort it gave people. And over time, he embraced it as a gift rather than a burden. Outside of Cape Side, he built a career that stretched beyond teen drama. In 1999's Varsity Blues, he delivered a performance that cemented his big screen presence. He appeared in The Rules of Attraction, Texas Rangers, Downsizing, and numerous television series. He even leaned into self-parody, playing an exaggerated version of himself in Apartment 23, a move that showed he had perspective. He could laugh at the mythology around him. He understood his place in pop culture. And yet, for all the red carpets and headlines, the most important chapter of his life unfolded quietly. In 2020, he moved his family from Los Angeles to a ranch in Texas. Simpler living, open space, time together. He spoke about wanting to be fully present for his children, to measure success differently. That decision now feels even more meaningful. In November 2024, James publicly revealed that he had been diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer. He had intended to share it in his own way, but the news broke sooner than expected. Even then, his message was steady, grateful, grounded. He described the journey as humbling, as something that demanded patience and strength he didn't know he had. He updated fans not to invite pity, but to raise awareness and to be honest about what he was facing. He spoke about slowing down, about prioritizing rest, about discovering resilience. There was no bitterness, just clarity. He continued to appear publicly when he could. In one of his final red carpet appearances in May 2025, he looked slimmer but composed, present, still himself. When a Dawson's Creek reunion reading was organized to raise money for charity and to support him, he was deeply moved. He later had to withdraw because of his health, but even in that moment, he addressed fans with warmth and humor. That was who he was: honest, self-aware, gracious. His family confirmed that he passed peacefully, surrounded by love, after a 2-year battle. In their statement, they said he met his final days with courage, faith, and grace. They asked for privacy as they grieved their husband, father, son, brother, and friend. He leaves behind his wife Kimberly and their 6 children: Olivia, Annabelle, Amelia, Gwendolyn, Joshua, and Jeremiah. For them, he was not Dawson Leery. He was dad. He was home. The tributes that followed tell their own story. Co-stars, friends, fans, entire timelines filled with clips, quotes, memories, not just of scenes, but of how those scenes made people feel. That is cultural impact, not just ratings, not just fame, but emotional memory. James Van Der Beek's legacy lives in the generation that learned to articulate feelings because a fictional teenager once did it first. It lives in the actors who followed, in a television landscape that became more emotionally literate. It lives in every rewatch, every rediscovery, by a new audience who finds Dawson's Creek on streaming and realizes it still resonates. He once said that the journey he was on would likely shape the rest of his life. In many ways, it shaped how he was seen in his final years, not as a former teen idol, but as a man facing adversity with openness and strength. He did not let illness define him. He let honesty define him. He let family define him. And the impact goes even further than that. For many young actors who came after him, James represented a blueprint. You could be the heartthrob and still be thoughtful. You could carry a hit show and still speak openly about insecurity. You could experience massive fame and still choose to step back from it. He proved that reinvention doesn't always mean louder roles or bigger headlines. Sometimes it means deeper roots. In his later interviews, there was a noticeable shift in how he spoke about success. It wasn't about chasing the next defining part. It was about presence, about fatherhood, about showing up fully for the people who mattered most. He talked about how slowing down changed him, how rest became purposeful, how time became sacred. That message resonates now more than ever. In an industry that often rewards speed, noise, and constant visibility, James quietly modeled something different. He embraced growth. He embraced humility. He embraced change. Fans revisiting old clips today aren't just remembering lines of dialogue. They're remembering how it felt to watch him back then. The intensity in his eyes, the sincerity, the belief that art and love and friendship were worth talking about seriously. Those qualities never left him. Even in his final public messages, there was gratitude. Gratitude for support, gratitude for family, gratitude for the journey, however difficult it became. A cultural icon, yes, but also a man who evolved, who chose depth over ego, who understood that legacy is not just what you create on screen, but how you live off it. James Van Der Beek leaves behind performances that will continue to be discovered and rediscovered. He leaves behind a generation shaped by his work. And he leaves behind a reminder that sensitivity, strength, and sincerity can coexist. That is a legacy that endures.